بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أتمان الأكملان خير خلق الله أجمعين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ثم ما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته, dearest brothers and sisters. And this is now the 16th lesson of Tafseer Surah Yusuf alayhi salam. As we said in this Tafseer, to make it different, because there is a lot of English tafsir on this surah already out there. I'm sure many of you may have seen some of them already. So we wanted to make it a little bit different, to bring a new perspective, a new dynamic to it. And what we decided to do is to look at one particular book of tafsir, which is the Tafseer of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. Even though he didn't write a tafsir himself, what later scholars did is they took out from his other works statements regarding Quran, ayat, and kind of comprised it into a book of tafsir. So we have a 7-volume book of tafsir attributed to Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, and in that there is nearly every single surah he has something to say, or they found something that he said about a verse from the surah. Now as for Surah Yusuf, he said a lot about many verses. And what we're finding is that Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah actually picked out certain verses which are a bit controversial in his opinion. And they were controversial because he believed that the tafsir given for those verses was inaccurate. Not just inaccurate, problematic. So we had, for example, وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا, verse that came before about Yusuf alayhi salam, that he was, the wife of Aziz attempted to seduce him, and he refrained. But Allah said, وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا, that she had a strong desire for him, and he also had a hum for her. And we said here that scholars, you find two very extreme, not extreme, but distant opinions regarding this. One side said there was no such hum coming from Yusuf alayhi salam. It didn't happen. We've got another way of explaining it. On the other side, subhanallah, they said it was just more than hum. He felt desire and he acted وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ upon that desire, but he stopped before actually, committing the act itself. So that's problematic. And Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah comes, and then he has a lot to say about how to properly give the tafsir of this ayah. And this, in our lesson today inshallah, there will be another case of controversy where the words وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ, that indeed the soul, or a particular type of the soul, commands one to do evil. Who said that? Did Yusuf alayhi salam say that? Was it the wife of Aziz that said that? If Yusuf alayhi salam said that, then what is he saying about himself? That his soul is like this? Is that really true? Isn't that a bit problematic to say that? So here, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, subhanallah, from all of the verses that we've covered so far, this verse, he has a lot to say. In fact, he brings a refutation of 11 points, no less than 11 points. The لَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا, that was about 6-7 points. Okay, then there was another one after that as well. What was the one after that? There was another one that we went into quite a lot deeper. أُذْكُرْنِي عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ, make mention of me to your master. That was quite a detailed refutation there as well of the opinion that this negated his tawakkul. This one here seems to be the most, concentrated one that he focused on a lot. And this verse, he came up with an 11-point refutation as to why the tafsir given here, that this is the words of Yusuf alayhi salam, is actually very problematic. And we're going to go into that inshallah at the end. But where are we in the story now? We're at the part of the story where Yusuf alayhi salam life begins to change completely. He's going to come out of prison now. What happens is the king has a dream. The only one in the whole of Egypt, though Egypt is renowned for being able to interpret dreams and also for having these fortune tellers, no one can interpret it. What do you know? The one person who can is that person inside of prison. He interprets it, and then the king finds out and he says, bring him to me. Freedom is granted to Yusuf alayhi salam. What does he say in prison? He says, ارجع إلى ربك فاسأله ما بال النسوة اللاتي قطعن أيديهن. He says, now go back. The messenger comes to him and says, look, you're free man now. Freedom is yours. Yusuf alayhi salam says, no, go back. Go back to the king and ask him what happened regarding the women who cut their hands. And we had a very nice discussion as to why he said, go back and ask about the women that cut their hands, and he didn't say, the wife of Aziz tried to seduce me. Question her. So this is where we are. This is verse 50 now we're coming to. Now, Ahmad Nawfal, he said something amazing. He said that this is actually the halfway point in the story. Even though the surah is 114 verses, if I'm not mistaken, long, the actual story comes to an end at verse 101. He said this is the halfway point in the story, and what you find is that this is exactly the point where the story and his life changes completely. He said it's like Allah split his life into two parts. The first part is of shiddah, of hardship and difficulty. And the second part is of raha, which is ease and comfort. And Allah placed that turn of events bang in the middle of his life. Even bang in the middle of the story, if you count the number of verses. Now, regarding what Yusuf has just done, told the king that I'm not coming out of prison until you investigate the matter. Ash-Shawkani rahimahullah said that the level of sabr, discipline, of Yusuf alayhi salam at this point is almost unimaginable. It's unimaginable that any person in that situation, languishing in prison, given freedom, would say, hang on a minute, I'm not coming out here. Why did he say hang on a minute? Ibn Ashur said, well, because to seek your reputation to be free from false allegations is a maqsad shar'i. It is a religious objective, meaning that it's from Islam and the Sharia that if someone is accused of doing something wrong, falsely accused, then to try and fight for your name to be cleared of that allegation is actually a religious objective that Allah wants you to go for and Allah would reward you for. That is one thing we're learning from Yusuf alayhi salam already. So this is where we are in the story. Okay, now inshallah we'll be taking verse number 51, 52 and 53 inshallah. So let's start by reciting those verses now inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال ما خطبكن إذ راوتن يوسف عن نفسه قلنا حاش لله ما علمنا عليه من سوء قالت امرأة العزيز الآن حصحص الحق أنا راودته عن نفسه وإنه لمن الصادقين ذلك ليعلم أني لم أخنه بالغيب وأن الله لا يهدي كيد الخائنين وما أبرئ نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي إن ربي غفور رحيم. Okay, so this particular passage is a bit funny, it's a bit comical to be honest, that what's happening, the way the story is now unfolding. Yusuf alayhi salam manages to say something to the king of Egypt that grabs his attention and makes the king actually follow the orders of someone in prison, which is go and investigate these women. And these are not just any women, we said they're niswa fil Medina, they're like the rich and the famous, they're from the political class. But the king, he sees something in that statement and he follows it. So he calls the women. So if you can imagine a big courtroom, okay, the king's sitting there, he calls the women in. He said, قَالَ مَا خَطُبُكُنْ what is the issue here regarding seducing this person from his own self? Meaning, tell me about this incident that I've just heard about, that there's somebody who's saying that he was seduced by you all. Now he said, قَالَ مَا خَطُبُكُنْ. Al-khatub, from al-khatab we get the word khutbah. So what the king is asking is, in a khutbah you give an important piece of advice, an important piece of news rather. So this is not some minor thing I'm asking about. I'm asking about something significant that happened. Okay, and then he knows a little bit about it as well. And that is, رَاوَتُنَّ يُوسُفَ عَنْ نَفْسِي, that you did this murawada, which means to try and get the will of somebody else to change to be like your will, and that's known as seduction. And also the person involved, Yusuf alayhi salam. Now, did they actually try and seduce Yusuf alayhi salam? No, they didn't. Rather, they only helped the wife of Aziz in trying to seduce him. So they were just pressuring him, why not Yusuf? It's a good person, she's a good person, it'll be good for you in the future, pushing him, threatening him even. Oh, look, if you don't do it, Yusuf, you're going to get in trouble, you might as well do it. So that was their involvement. But they didn't actually try and seduce him themselves. So what are they going to do now? Are they going to grasp on Imratul Aziz, or are they not? The reason it's quite funny is because they don't actually grasp on her, but at the same time they don't say, yeah, we've done something wrong. What do they say? They say, قُلْنَا حَاشَ لِلَّهِ. So they all say حَاشَ لِلَّهِ. Now this means subhanallah, but subhanallah not in the religious sense, in the sense of ta'ajjub, showing amazement. Like, you're accusing us of that? No way, we didn't do that, king. We can't be accused of that. We never did that whatsoever. And that's true, they never did that. Okay, so you cleared your own name. You didn't do that act with him, or you didn't even try to. What about Yusuf? Did he do it or not then? So they say, مَا عَلِمْنَا عَلَيْهِ مِنْ سُوء. We don't know anything. Su means something, a sin, but also something ugly as well. We don't know any kind of ugly, evil thing coming from him whatsoever. Yeah. So we didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. So who did do something then? Ibn Ashur said that either they were too scared of her to grasp her up, or they were being loyal towards her. Okay, and that's why they didn't go, if you like, the whole way and saying, we didn't do it, he didn't do it, she did it. Okay, so they just leave it open. So obviously the king's following this conversation. You say, okay, so you guys didn't do it. You're saying that he didn't do it, so you're bearing witness to him not doing anything. So what happened in the end then? Something must have happened. I know something did happen. Then the buck stops squarely in front of Imratul Aziz. She can no longer hide. So she's brought in the courtroom now, standing in front of the king. What does she do? قالت امرأة العزيز الآن حصحص الحق. Beautiful word being employed here. She says herself now. Al-an, now. Meaning before this time, there was always an air of suspicion around Yusuf alayhi salam. Did he? Did he not? He's in prison. Can't be in prison for no reason. There's no smoke without fire, right? This is what lay people say. Very dangerous logic. So there's always a suspicion, we don't know. Some people said that even the Aziz himself didn't know. Did she or didn't she? Okay. So she says, Al-ana, now, hashasa al-haq. The truth, hashasa. Hashasa means to uproot something. So this thing that's in the ground, hidden, no one knows about it, now someone's actually pulled it out and everyone can see what's going on. Hashasa also has another connotation, which is something slowly comes to the surface. And it's quite ajib, because what's happening here is that hang on a minute, he said investigate this. He actually does investigate. Then he investigates the women, and now the women are pointing towards her. And now it actually comes out in the open. Hasal haq. And then ana, me, I. راودته عن نفسه وإنه لمن الصادقين. A full-blown confession. No more hiding anymore. Indeed, I did try and seduce him. And on top of that, وَإِنَّهُ لَمِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ. And all along, he was telling the truth. All along. So finally, subhanallah, everything comes out in the open. Everyone knows, the king knows, Aziz knows, the women already knew, because she already said to them that I tried to seduce him, فَاسْتَعْصَمْ, but he refused. So they already know. But Aziz doesn't know, maybe. King doesn't know, and the people don't know. And that's why Shawkani rahimahullah said that Yusuf alayhi salam didn't want to come out in that first instance, because people will always be looking at him and saying, we don't know whether he did do that or he didn't do that, but he's got out of prison because he's close to the king. He's managed to get a link with the king, and because of that he got out of prison. Otherwise he'd still be in prison because he's guilty. So in order not to live that type of life where your reputation is always questionable, he said, no, I'm not going to come out. In fact, I'm going to seek justice to be done. And subhanallah, Al-Qurtubi said that here Allah Jalla wa Ala combined two of the strongest pieces of evidence to clear his name. The strongest piece of evidence is an actual witness. A witness says firsthand he didn't do it. Strong, isn't it? What's even stronger than that is the one accused, or the victim rather in this case, supposed victim, comes out and says actually he didn't do it. And that's the highest level of evidence. That's known as iqrar. So Qurtubi said Allah joined between the strongest piece of evidence to clear his name. And there's no evidence that could be brought stronger than this. So Allah selected the weightiest piece of evidence to clear his name. It's quite amazing, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking care of his slave, looking after his slave, serving justice for his slave in the most profound way. Now, this is where there are many different interpretations. This next verse, ذَلِكَ لِيَعْلَمَ أَنِّي لَمْ أَخُنْهُ بِالْغَيْبِ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي كَيْدَ الْخَائِنِينَ. There's 3 or 4 views as to who is saying this statement. What is the statement? ذَلِكَ, pointing towards what just happened, the confession and the haqq becoming known. The person saying this says, that just happened, لِيَعْلَمَ أَنِّي لَمْ أَخُنْهُ بِالْغَيْبِ. That just happened so that he would know that I wasn't treacherous to him behind his back. So who's saying this? Ash-Shawkani rahimahullah said, most of the scholars of Tafseer said that this is the statement of Yusuf alayhi salam. Now Yusuf alayhi salam is saying, Ash-Shawkani rahimahullah says that, so he's in prison, someone comes along and says, what do you know? She actually confessed to doing it, and all along she said that you were truthful. And Yusuf alayhi salam then says, ذَلِكَ لِيَعْلَمَ أَنِّي لَمْ أَخُنْهُ بِالْغَيْبِ. That just happened so that he, meaning Aziz, would know that for sure I didn't do anything wrong when he was absent from the house. Or Allah Jalla wa Ala would know that I didn't do anything wrong. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't know? Is that right to say that? It's been said. It's been said by some scholars that he's saying that Allah now knows that I didn't do anything ghaib, when Allah was not there. It's been said. The other interpretation is that no, this is the words of Imratul Aziz, that the wife of Aziz is saying, ذَلِكَ, this confession that I just did here and now, Why am I doing it? لِيَعْلَمَ أَنِّي لَمْ أَخُنْهُ بِالْغَيْبِ, so that he would know that I didn't cheat on him behind his back. Either this is about Aziz, so my husband now knows, okay, he knows now, that's why I did it. Or Yusuf alayhi salam, that now he knows that in the last hour I didn't, even though I could have lied again, I didn't lie. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says this is like, someone crazily in love, and it's twisted love. So she's basically confessed, and you can imagine the guards coming now. Okay, they're going to grab her, they're going to put her in prison, and her hands are like tied behind her back. And she's saying, can you do me a favor? Can you tell Yusuf that, in the end I never lied against him? Tell him that, can you do that for me, please? It's like, this lady is crazy. She wants him to know now that because he's in prison and he's not there, and she could have lied again, because I love you so much, Yusuf, I told the truth in the end. What? Yeah. So this interpretation is given by a minority of scholars. However, the proponents of this view are very, very strong in their view and saying that and championing it to be the strongest view. Ibn Ashur rahimahullah said it is obvious that this is her words. Okay, she's speaking just prior to this. She's already said, I did it, he was honest, and I did that in order that he would know, even though he's not here, that I didn't cheat on him in the end. I didn't act treacherously with him in the end. It is obvious. It's just a flow of conversation. This is just natural, yani. She's talking and she continues to talk. Anyhow, what does Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah have to say about this? We'll come to that inshallah. Then she says, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي كَيْدَ الْخَائِنِينَ. Ibn Ashur says that this is the second reason now she's mentioning why I confessed, which is that even though I am a mushrika, I'm not a Muslim, I don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as I ought to. I know He exists, however, and I know also something else, that the way Allah is, La yahdi, He does not guide the kaid, the plotting and the scheming of the kha'ineen, people that are treacherous. Yeah, the kha'in is the one that lies in order to get the better of somebody else. Okay, so she's saying like, it's going to come back to me anyway in the end. I knew it's going to happen. That's just the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. This is His sunnah, His tradition, that anyone who tries to scheme against somebody else and lies through their teeth in order to, do that, is going to end up coming back to them anyway. That's the second reason why I'm doing it. What is interesting, subhanallah, is that, this is the psychology of a person who is a liar. That liars, the way you can tell someone's lying is by the way they speak about that incident. And this, subhanallah, is something ajib, because in our times, what I read recently is that behavioral psychologists actually say that the best way of finding out if someone's lying or not is not through a lie detector. It is not through monitoring blood pressure or pulse rate. It's actually through analyzing their speech. This is the best way of recognizing if someone is lying or not. And what I also heard recently is that in airports, there's been this system used by the security to find out whether someone's lying or not. Okay, and it was based on monitoring behavior. Okay, are they sweating? Can you see them fidgeting? Their eyes, where their eyes look, and all this stuff. So they had this whole scheme, right? And then a big study was done, which showed that when they put that to the test, it wasn't working. Only a few people, that part of this study, who were placed inside, so they got some people who were actually going to lie and put them through the security of the airports. Most of them managed to get through without being caught. most of them. And only a handful got caught based on that system. Then they come with their own system. And their own system of finding out if someone's lying is just having a normal conversation with them. Yeah. So they gave an example of this woman. She's lying about what she's got with her in her luggage. And the lady, she's using the new system, and she says, "Hi there, how you doing? What's your name?" "Yeah, this is my name." "So that's a nice dress you got on there. Where did you get that from?" And then they monitor what answer she gives. So she goes, "Oh yeah, I got it when I went last year to Brazil." "Oh, is it? How long did you go for there? It's a nice place. What did you do there?" Now the thing is, if someone's lying and they're trying to hide something, that's when it starts coming out. Okay, and they start to be very indirect, and they start to talk in the third person, not "I did this," or "you," or "I did this," or "I went here." Rather, they start saying "this happened and that happened" in the third person. So all of these things, okay, is a new system basically. They found that it catches more people out than the previous one, and in fact they're rolling it out as a pilot in, I think, in Heathrow. So, any Muslim talking about security in the airport, maybe it's not a good idea to put this part in the video. We can take this part. No, I'm just kidding, it's fine. So what I found ajib is that we already been shown by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning of the story how liars talk. When it came to the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, they were quite strange in the way they spoke to their dad. They came to dad and they said to dad, "Send Yusuf with us. Yarta' wa yal'ab. We're going to be having a fantastic time. He's going to eat loads. We're going to play. And inna lahu lahafidhun. We're regarding him protective. Nasihun. We just want good for him." It's a bit strange of you to say those kind of things. And then what is even more amazing is later on we're going to see the same people talking to their dad and requesting the same thing, which is to send Binyamin with them, but they use different words. And Yaqub alayhi salam reacts differently. It is quite amazing. What we'll see is that they're asking the same thing. In fact, it's worse this time, because what they did the first time, and you're asking for the same thing again. Send Binyamin with us to Egypt. But dad sends him. And he even gives him some advice. Don't enter in from one door, enter in from many doors. How, Yaqub, you are trusting them now? How comes? And what we see is that the same request is being asked, different language being used. Language which shows that they have changed. And that they are now being sincere, where once upon a time they were being treacherous. Okay? And the same thing here with Imra'atul Aziz. The next verse, okay, let's go to the next verse now. Look at what she says, according to that interpretation, that these are all her words. She says, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي. Okay? وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي means, I'm not saying that I'm innocent. Okay, so everyone's listening to her and saying, wow, she actually admitted to it in front of everyone. How noble of her, that she did that. It's quite amazing. Everyone's like, start talking to each other. Oh my God, she actually said that. Can you believe, in front of the king as well? So she's like, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي. I'm not saying, I'm free of blame. So you're guilty, yeah? Well, but إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ. But the thing is, right? The thing is that Ibn Ashur says, she's saying, but I might be blameworthy, but souls, you don't talk about soul. Souls in the nafs, لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ. Some, souls, they command people to do evil. لَأَمَّارَ is not just to command to do something, is to perpetually try to make someone do evil. So she's saying, but it's not really my fault. Blame the nafs. It's not my fault, it's my nafs. And that, subhanAllah, is the way a guilty person speaks. That's the way a liar talks. That's what they said in this literature which I was reading, that liars, they talk in the third person. They don't say, I'm not to blame, or I didn't do this. They say, this happened, then that happened. And you know what happens there, isn't it? So, the same thing. She's saying that and yeah, I've done something wrong, but you can't blame me, it's my nafs. Nafs, this does that to people. Okay, so she's going back and forth, and then illa ma rahima rabbi. Then she says quite a profound statement, which is that though the soul commands people to do evil, some people are saved from that soul. Those are the souls rahima rabbi, which my Rabb has mercy on. Which means that even though people have this type of soul which tells them to do evil, that soul will not triumph in making someone do evil if Allah has mercy on that soul. Yeah, Allah will stop that soul from making the person do evil. And then she says something else. Inna Rabbi Ghafurur Rahim. Indeed, my master is Ghafur, incredibly forgiving, and Rahim, incredibly merciful. Ibn Ashur said, it's like she's talking about herself and Yusuf alayhi salam. He's so incredibly forgiving, hopefully he'll forgive me. And what did I just say about Yusuf alayhi salam? He was telling the truth all the while, and he never did anything wrong because his soul was the recipient of mercy, and that's why I know that Allah is Rahim. Yeah? That He's the one who gave the rahmah to Yusuf alayhi salam and stopped his soul from commanding him to do evil, and so he's protected from the su. Yeah, it's the way she's summarizing the whole thing. However, the other view is that Yusuf alayhi salam is saying these words. Okay, so he's saying, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm innocent. What do you mean? I'm not saying you're innocent. What have you done? So the scholars of this view say, well, he's talking about what? What's he talking about? I haven't given any chocolates yet. What thing has he done wrong? Yes, Akhi.
Is it the ham?
Yes, very good. Gonna catch? Oh, come on, Akhi. Tayyib. So the ham, alaqad hammat bih wa hamma biha. He had ham, and that was a sin, according to those scholars. Yeah. So he's saying now, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي. So he hears in prison that Imra'atul Aziz has just said she's guilty. But then he's saying, well, I'm not free from blame myself. And then he says, إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ. According to this view, he's saying himself that, you know what? The nafs, sometimes it commands you to do evil. And then إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي, except the soul that Allah has mercy on. إِنَّ رَبِّي غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Indeed, my master is most forgiving, most merciful. Now, what do you think about that view? Do you find it problematic that Yusuf alayhi salam is saying this, or do you think there's no real problem there? It could be this, or it could be that. What do you think? Yes, Akhi.
I think based on how I read it before, they're in that repentive mode, etc.
Okay, so you're saying like as a prophet, it's not really befitting of a prophet to praise himself.
Yeah, I'm innocent, I'm this and that.
Yeah.
But the majority of the things that led me to believe that was obviously the general statement that the stuff that commands the evil acts is nothing radically different to what
you heard.
What the soul is, but mainly what my Lord is. He's forgiving and merciful.
So
the last statement was more.
So the statement is, if you read it, that it's Yusuf alayhi salam's statement. You can't get away from the fact that the main meaning is that I've done something bad, done something wrong. Yeah, and Allah, have mercy on me. So if that is the case, then the question begs, what did he do wrong? Isn't it? So this is the main thing, what did he do wrong then? Because if he's saying that I'm not innocent, it means he's done something wrong. If you've done something wrong, what is that thing that you did wrong? So according to that view, the thing that he did wrong was just having that desire for Imra'atul Aziz at that moment. We explained that though, that this is not correct, because the Prophet ﷺ told us that whoever intends hamma بِسَيِّئَةٍ. Whoever intends, desires to do an evil and doesn't do it, what happens? He's rewarded. So he's rewarded for having a desire and refraining from fulfilling it. Isn't that what Yusuf alayhi salam did? So he hasn't done that. That thing's not wrong. Yeah. So this is if you see, many things are built upon this view. You have to go back, okay, and you have to obviously, how do you interpret this verse that he had hum? Was it bad? Was it good? How do you understand this? So if we are following the understanding that we came with, which is that the hum of Yusuf alayhi salam was real, yet he did not act on it, and as a result earned reward, not sin, then this verse cannot be interpreted like that. Do you see? And it's just analyzing from where we were and where we are now. Now here, something interesting, which Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says. He says, based on these words, in the nafs la ammaratun bisu, scholars came up with three categories for the nafs. That the nafs, the soul of a human being, can be compartmentalized, can be broken into three parts. And what he means by that is, according to those scholars, there's one soul, but it's got three elements. Okay? So the element that we are learning of here is that there's a side of the soul, ammara bisu. Okay? It, if you like, encourages you to do su. Now, Al-Qasimi, rahimahullah, said what this means is that the shahawat, the base desires, you just want to fulfill your desires. Okay? That urge, that's, if you like, ammaratun bisu. That's that part of the soul, wanting to fulfill desires. What's the other two? What's the other two aspects of the soul? Ammaratun bisu, one. What else? Very good. An-nafs al-mutma'inna. The soul that has itmi'nan. Itmi'nan means peace and tranquility. Okay. So there's another element of the soul that experiences, let me just go to this diagram in fact. Yeah, this diagram. So there's another element of the soul which feels tranquility. What that means, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says, is that it wants to do good and hasanat. Yeah, it wants to do khair and hasanat. That's what it wants to do. There's a side of human beings that, genuinely wants to do good things for other people, for itself. Okay, now this is something which you see in the turn of the new Gregorian year, that New Year's resolutions, so many New Year's resolutions that people are coming out with, and it's basically to do good things, most of the time anyway. And all of them at the same time are wanting to do good things. Where is that coming from? An-nafs al-mutma'inna, Allah placed it within inside the soul to want and desire to do good things. And the third one is what? Who knows the Arabic for the third one? Yes. Nafsul lawwama. Yes, the soul that is la'im. La'im means to experience blame or guilt. So there's a guilty conscience. The guilty conscience, that expression. That's another side of the soul. Now what is interesting here is Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says that some of the scholars actually connected all the three souls together, or the three dimensions of the souls rather, together in the following way. First element of the soul kicks in. Okay, nafs ammaratun bisu, enticing you, encouraging you to do something which is haram. Okay, human being says to themselves, I want to eat or drink this haram thing, intoxication for example, or go to a party. Okay, so there's a brother, he's in university. You gonna go to university one day? Inshallah. I'm talking to you, akhi. The brother behind has already been. No. Think about it. Don't make rash decision. So the brother, and he goes to university, and everyone's going clubbing. Oh, I can't go clubbing now. I'm Muslim, yani. Yeah, but you're far away, and no one's going to find out. Okay, so his nafs ammara bisu. Okay, I want to, everyone's going. I wonder it's going to be like. طيب, so ammaratun bisu. then the second soul kicks in, which is lawama. So lawama is not just feeling guilt after doing the deed, it actually kicks in before you do it. So the person begins to hesitate. Should I? Should I not? Should I? Should I not? Okay, back and forth. Yeah? Taraddud basically. He's dithering. Oh, I'm not sure. What's dad going to say? Oh my God. Oh no, I shouldn't do that, it's bad. But I really want to. Okay, this is nafs al-lawama. And then if he actually listens to his nafs al-lawama and refrains, nafs mutma'inna. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't do that. Everyone came back trashed, smelling like rubbish, and look, they didn't even enjoy themselves. I'm so glad I didn't. That natural feeling is the third element. Okay, so that comes in at the end. You refrained from doing something haram because you felt guilty about doing it, and then you didn't do it and you actually felt good about not doing it. Or you wanted to do something good, okay, and you set about doing it, and once you did it, mutma'inna, you felt good about it. And this is something human beings experience. Don't have to be a believer to experience these things. And this is what we're learning from Imra'atul Aziz, that she was a mushrika, a non-Muslim. Yet, according to one interpretation, she actually said these words, which is, Inna an-nafsa la'ammaratun bisu illa ma rahima rabbi. She actually said, acknowledging the existence of Allah and acknowledging certain things about Allah, that He is very forgiving and very merciful. Which means that, let's pose it as a question, how, if no one came and gave them da'wah or her da'wah, did she come to know about Allah and that He's forgiving, that He's merciful, and that He doesn't let the kaid of the kha'ineen, just go like that. He makes it come back to that person. How do you explain this? Yes, Ali.
Can you say that it's in human nature to believe in God, may not be punishing this life, it's in human nature to
think that there's going to be some bad going to come to you because of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so very good. So Ali said that it's part of human nature to believe that there's a God. And you don't need to be told by anyone, actually can feel that, And on top of that, you also have these other feelings, which is that if you do bad's going to come to you. Okay, very good. Any other answers? Ali, mashallah, you get a sweet every week, akhi, man. Yeah? Say no one, we can. Any other answers? What do the brothers think? How come she knew? Inna Rabbi Ghafoor Rahim. Indeed, my master is Ghafoor and Rahim. No one gave her da'wah. She's a mushrika. So whilst being a mushrika, she can say words which shows that she believes in Allah. So is she a mushrika or is she not a mushrika? Yes. Okay, so the brother said that, what's your name, akhi? Anas said that, before, if you rewind, she hears Yusuf alayhi salam saying some words like ma'adallah, and also that he says, innahu rabbi ahsana mathway, innahu la yuflihu dhalimun, that Allah, according to one interpretation, doesn't let the dhalim succeed. Okay, doesn't let the dhalim succeed. So she's kind of learned about Allah from that. It's a good learner, akhi, man, subhanAllah. Just from that? But do you agree with what Ali said or you disagree?
I'm still unsure.
He's unsure. No problem. Anas, so should I break this chocolate in half and give it to you, akhi? Bismillah. Come on, brothers, look lively. What do you think? I'm going to come to you, inshallah. Anybody else? What's the answer to this question? Is she a mushrika? Is she not a mushrika? She says she believes in Allah. Maybe these chocolates aren't good enough for you, Getting to the end of the bowl, so I need to fair rush him maybe next time. What do the youngsters think? Does she believe in Allah? Does she not believe in Allah? How does she know about Allah if no one gave her da'wah? Any suggestions? Yes, sir, go ahead. Okay, very good. So the brother said, mashallah, very good. Okay. So only a bit of rubbish was left at the end. So she said that the mushrik is someone who doesn't necessarily disbelieve in Allah. They believe in Allah, they just don't worship Him exclusively. So she's still a mushrika, even though she affirms that Allah is my master, and that certain things about Allah, like He is merciful and forgiving, okay, I know that much. That's fine, but that's only half the answer. Okay, because the other part of the question is, how does she know in the first place that there is a Rabb, and He's my Rabb, and He's merciful, and He's forgiving? Yes. It's not something that you're taught. Okay, what do you mean? Okay, very good. So it's a natural instinct, just like what Ali said, that to believe in a supreme being. Okay, do you agree with what the brother said? It's a natural instinct to believe in a supreme being. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Anyone disagree? No? طيب. So you affirm that she can recognize Allah because Allah put it inside of the human being. What about the fact that Allah Jalla wa Ala, she says, is Ghafoor and Rahim? What do you say? Is that the same thing or?
Yeah, because if she acknowledges that she was created
Yeah.
by the Supreme Being, He also created those attributes, as in us.
Yeah.
We're merciful. So of course, He is a part of Allah.
Yeah.
He is the most merciful. If He created mercy, that we're merciful.
Okay, mashallah, very good. So the brother said, I'm trying to find the best one for you. Caramel. Fadl. MashaAllah. The brother said, you can even know more than just there is a Rabb, there is a creator. If you look at your own self, that you have the ability to be merciful to others, then surely the one who created you, who gave you that attribute, must also have that attribute. True or not? Yeah? So, what we're learning here, my brothers and sisters, is the role of the fitrah in the life of a human being. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا Surah Ar-Rum, verse number 33. Allah said in the Quran that He created man upon a fitrah. Okay, He created man upon a fitrah. فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا The fitrah of Allah upon which He created man. Not Muslims, not some people, people in general, of all times, all ages, all backgrounds. What is this fitrah? The Prophet ﷺ explains in the hadith in Sahih Bukhari that كل مولود يولد على الفطرة, that every single newborn is born upon this thing called the fitrah, and then the father and the mother change and convert them to become a Christian, a Jew, or a Magian. Which means that originally he was something to be converted to something else, right? So it means that every single person is already born with an intuition to recognize certain things, recognize certain truths, and recognize certain evils. The greatest truth recognizable to man is the existence of a supreme being. And more than that, some things related to the supreme being. In fact, if he uses his aql, which is another God-given gift, he can reach other conclusions like our brother Muzammil just told us, which is that if you think about it, if there's mercy in the world, it must mean there's mercy in the Creator. What did you use, akhi, to reach that conclusion? The aql. And that is why Allah says, إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ لَآيَاتٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. That in the creation of the skies and the earth and the alternation of the night and day, there are indeed signs for who? Muslims? Believers? Ulul, people that possess al-bab, from lub, which means aql. But not just any aql. Lub is the essence of something, the inner core of nuts, for example. You know, like the walnut, hard shell, crack it open, then you get the soft, edible stuff inside. That's lub. So Allah is saying, not just any mind, the pure, innocent mind. The pure, innocent mind is able to reflect over creation and come to some conclusions, like the conclusions that this lady has just come to. Yeah, do you see? So Allah gave us a fitrah. Number one, it helps us to recognize and moreover, not just see and recognize, but accept and submit to these things. Number one of the list is Allah Himself. And number one on the other list of evils is shirk. That this is not right. I just don't feel comfortable showing an idol or anything else created intense feelings of love, hope and veneration. It just doesn't feel right as a human being. What do you mean it doesn't feel right? Has anyone told you it's wrong? I don't need anyone to tell me it's wrong. I know it myself. فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. Do you get this now? So some good and some evil already known to human beings without revelation coming to them. Okay, without revelation coming to them. And this is the answer, yeah, which was mentioned already, that she knows these things, okay, because it's part of her fitrah. Okay, and the more a person keeps that fitrah innocent and intact, the greater the ability to see these truths. And the more a person is corrupted by external influences, then the less is the ability to see these truths. You know, you meet the people that you talk to them about God and about is there God or not. Some of them are like, oh, I'm hedging my bets. What do you mean you're hedging your bets? Oh, I'm not sure, I'm agnostic. So you're not atheist? No, I'm not atheist, I'm agnostic. I'm hedging my bets. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. What's that all about? And the level of corruption of the fitrah and the aql is got to that level where they can't even answer basic questions like, did we come out of nothing? Just tell me, did we come out of nothing? Well, not sure. There's many theories out there. Did we come out of nothing though? Or did someone put us here? Simple question. Unable to answer this question. That level of corruption. Okay. So, though she was a mushrikah, she was able to say these things.